into your algorithms. Here's a good example. I'm just going to talk you through how we kind of do some of our photos. So here is where customers tell us this is a favorite. This is a favorite photo. And in other cases, we actually identify some of their favorite photos. Why? Because we know that these two little kids are super important in a mom's life. So some of your other favorite photos might include them as well. Then we go there, and if you look for the bottom, we have sections where it's just made exactly for you. We look at what products you've purchased before. We look at what designs you gravitate towards. We look at what season it is. Then we go there and we rank photos. We say, this one's blurry. This one, people aren't facing forward. This one, really doesn't show people's faces. This one's cropped imperfectly. This one's too dark. This one's too light. This one's too saturated. And then we start learning from their photos over and over again. And then we start ranking them. We say, this one's a good photo. This one's a bad photo. This is what we should up. This one works well for a mug. This one works well for a canvas print. This one's really, really crappy. So we would never recommend it on anything. And then we make products just for you. So this is actually a photo of my little girl and our family. And if you think about it, if you look at right there, right here, we allow you to provide feedback to us. And even if you don't click that feedback, we know when you edit it and when you add it to your cart, we know the changes that you're making. Just so that the next time we serve you something up, more relevant, more personalized to what you want. And even after you've added something to cart, then we go, what else can we do with this person's photos? This is ironically actually powered by Adobe Test and Target, Adobe Target. So we use Adobe to help us understand what do people really, really want? What inputs can we send Adobe so they can give us really, really strong recommendations? After that, we figure out what do people have in their cart? What do they gravitate towards? And so here, I end up spending an extra $27.50 for a case that I probably never intended to buy. And lastly, here's some parting thoughts. At Shutterfly, we really try to get to know that customer. We spend every waking moment thinking about what do they want next? What products are they interested in? What signals have they given us to know what would they resonate with in the future? Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but 5 years from now, what are they going to be looking for? Second command is be maniacal about their stated and implied needs. We really look at this on a daily basis. I think one of the things that we realize is that most of our customers they don't come to us on a daily basis, and we look for engagement points to make sure that whatever their needs are, that they're met. So we launch things like free book a month, where every single month we're sending you a free book of all your photos. Third commandment is know that they change over time. So 16 months ago, I was looking for bottles and diapers, and now I'm actually not looking at diapers anymore. I'm looking at things to potty train my daughter. So behaviors change over time, needs change over time. So companies shouldn't be static. You got to figure out how to adapt to your customers. And fourth, serve them well. Be maniacal about serving them well, and they will serve you well. So with that, I bid you all adieu, and I'm happy to take any questions.
That water bottle with your baby in her hands, that was such a good one. That was like, I'm like, the next one. Yeah, the water bottle. Oh my, is that possible? That is so cute.
You can buy any of these products. These are all in production, so you can buy any of these products. But if you think about, like as you said, like these are products where I came to Shutterfly to make one item, but all these products, I literally could just add these to my cart. There's no work on your end. Yeah.
You mentioned using Adobe Target in the sense of maybe doing this more algorithmically or at larger scale with these data points. Is it possible, is it even approachable as a task to try to accomplish any kind of personalization before you have the app instrumented in that way? I mean, is that even feasible?
I think you can. I think the problem with that is like you don't get that many chances with customers. And so until you know something about them, a data point about them, um, and you figure, you may do it if you have a large set of data from somewhere else where you're like, there's a 99% chance that this customer fits into that data set, then yeah, you may not need to have built all the instrumentation and all the product. But until then, we're a product-driven culture, we're a data-driven culture, so we really want to make sure that there's a lot of reputational risk when we get something wrong. We really want to make sure that at the end of the day, we're giving you, we have our kind of philosophy is we have one chance to impress you. So if we are launching stuff that, especially to a broad swath of people, that just isn't impressive, we typically won't put that out. I would say wait, and I would say like iterate with a small set of people before you actually scale it. And
Appreciate it.
that could be as easy as doing usability testing with a group of product managers or 20, 30 people.
Do you collect data from any other sources than what the users come to your platform?
We do. I mean, to a certain degree, we from a marketing perspective, we do look at data from outside sources, and I think for the most part, we build lookalike models. We really try to understand. I mean, that's really key, right? Like, I think lookalike models are so key for our business. I mean, this data is pretty old, but like a couple of years ago, we were like, where are customers shopping? Like if we know our customers are shopping at Butterbart Kids or Whole Foods or whatever the case might be, we start trying to figure out like what are their habits, what drives them, what products are they buying, and what promotions can we serve up to them. There's some people that are only motivated by free products, and there's some people that are motivated by kind of beautiful products that they can use, utility of the product. So it really just depends. We do use outside sources, but we also use mostly inside sources.
Just sort of expanding on that, how do you structure those team meetings? What kind of questions do you ask in those meetings when you're thinking about finding other ways that the customer will spend? I mean, thinking from a very practical standpoint, right? We have a product right now. We're very focused on one service, and we have an opportunity to sell lots of other products, but we need to take our team through that process and understand how you go from, one to many. And just
Yeah.
from an early stage standpoint, practically, how does that happen?
So when I was joined Shutterfly, it was a $54 million company. We're about a $2 billion company now. And this is one of the things where every single time I wanted to launch a product, my boss would ask me, "Would you bet your house on it?" I'm like, "Sure, I don't own one." Of course I would. And the way you think about the product is really start about what's your hypothesis. So if you have one product right now and I'm going into another product line or another market, start with a hypothesis. Like, we believe this product is going to serve that market really, really well. Why? Why do you believe that product do no competitors exist? Is the product just well suited? Do you find like there's a gap in that market right now that no one's addressing? Size that opportunity. I think too many times, I would say, as I said, I worked in a couple startups before. I think too often we use our own intuition and we say, "Oh, I love this product. Hundreds of people must love it as well." When you actually start talking to people, they're like, "I don't know that I would use it." Not really. Like, you may need it, but I don't know that that person needs it and that person needs it. And so if you're actually, trying to launch a new product, I don't know if it's in a new market or just in kind of in the United States, but I would actually, the first thing that I would think about is doing usability testing. Like, take that physical product and do usability testing with a small set of customers. I think the way I think about it is, typically we have people come in weekly, monthly, and what I realize is when 30 people are yelling at me about the same thing, I have a problem. There's something wrong, or there's something that I'm not carrying, or there's something that I haven't built. But if it's like, you get 30 people and it's a mixed bag, that's where then you're like, what happened? What happened to my hypothesis? How big is this opportunity really? I thought everybody wanted this product. And that's probably what you think too, right? Like, why would you launch in another space if you don't think that everybody or there's a big enough market there. So I'd use sample sizes, and don't use them as kind of the holy grail, but use them as directional. Hmm?
The cup was a really nicely done photo. Was that a professional photo? That if you?
It was. It's my professional photo.
Without a white background, that wouldn't have worked so well.
There's a lot of other photos that I think could have worked with that cup. That actually is photoshopped in by me. But like if you look, the one on the very left, a lot of the photos that we have aren't professional photos. Actually, ironically, that's the only set of professional photos I've taken. So yeah, there's a lot of photos that can work really well.
How do you find from your customers? Do you find they usually have photos that are going to work, or do they find that they have to do some work on them?
We try to do a lot of the work. So we have in the back end, we do have rendering platforms that help kind of make that photo better before we print it. So when a customer gives us a really crappy photo, we actually will give a little signal saying, your photo is too low res, please change it. So we have things built in to help the customer be successful. And a lot of times I will say that most photography, most photos on Shutterfly aren't professional photos. They're kind of everyday photos. And they're of kids, they're of families, they're of couples, they're of landscapes, travels, anything. So I don't think you need a professional photographer. Beautiful products.
In regards to the photos, and they are very beautiful, and it is a great platform to make your photos better. My question is in regards to a photo being taken off the site and used in stock. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't, but the privacy issue of the user, how do you guys address that? Saying, oh, hey, I had this photo on Shutterfly and all of a sudden I'm seeing it on a display model at Business Cards 100 or something like that. How do you guys prevent that, or how do you protect the customer?
Your photos are yours. We don't sell your photos. We don't sell your data. I can't comment on that. I don't know enough about it, but we're really, really, really from a company culture, from a company perspective, like we respect your privacy. We really want to make sure we don't, kind of misuse someone's trust in us, right? So, we really try to make sure that your photos are secure. We also want to make sure that we don't sell your information to third parties. Yeah, we do send your photo to a fulfiller. Like we have to. We can't make the product otherwise. But to the extent we don't sit here and try to make a ton of money off your photos.
Do the predictions that you're making go stale? So, like, especially how long does this prediction hold up in the face of seasonality?
It's constantly refined. It's constantly refined on a daily, weekly basis. Like people change, their photos change, their needs change. So we're always looking at your photos every single time. So, we have a Shutterfly app, and when you upload your photos, we have auto upload. And so we're constantly looking to score your photos. So your favorites today that we suggest for you are most likely may or may not be your favorites tomorrow if you upload another set. They could be if they're amazing photos. Don't get me wrong. Like we'll keep those, and especially if you engage with them, right? So if some of these photos that you look at, some of these professional photos, you better believe I paid for those photos. I've printed them 100 times, and the more you interact with your photos, we assume that they're your favorites. The more you interact with your friends, we assume those are your favorites. So we typically will have a very, I would say, to answer your question, very, very frequent.
Thanks for the great talk. I have two questions. First is if you can go back to that slide where you talk about hypothesis, where exactly, I mean, in case of an early stage company which are just starting out with a product, which stage is where personalization start? Is it the number 4? The hypothesis slide. Yeah, this one. So when do you really start worrying about personalization? I mean, which stage is that?
I would say it starts day one, right? Like you need to know who your customer is. and again, there are cheap ways to personalize, right? You can merge docs, you can literally like send 3 different versions of your email on MailChimp if you need to. But it's making sure that you have that level of like measurement to understand if you sent literally you could type up 3 different, and I've done this, you could type 3 different emails, send it out to your customers, figure out which ones have the best click through, or figure out which ones actually had, and put a promo code on it, put a different promo code on each one and figure out which one